We're wholesome now, I guess, going on the main screen. I thank John. Northern Trust has been a great friend to us all across the country, but especially here in Chicago. And if you remember last year, he took on one of the representatives that we had not quite secured a yes from, and we did get that yes. So every vote counted. We are just thrilled to have everyone here. This is our big annual event. I want to thank our chairs, Laura Ricketts, Ray Koenig, and Johnny Song. Ray and Johnny are somewhere over here. Scheduled some 100th anniversary thing. So she is going between the Field Museum and here, so you will see her later tonight at the reception. And this is our biggest event in the Midwest and the second largest fundraiser in the country. And the victories that you're going to be learning about tonight, very briefly, and they're also in your program in the centerfold, they would not be possible unless you really trusted us and put your money to work through us. And it's a big step of faith in today to give money to organizations and make sure it's doing the right thing. And we take that very seriously, and we're very proud of what we can accomplish together, and we have accomplished a ton. None of our work is done alone, although I think Lambda does the most. But this year has illustrated this like no other time. And winning marriage in Illinois, and we'll all be talking about it tonight. I'm sure we've all been talking about it for quite a while, but it was a gigantic effort. And in addition to the people that you'll be hearing from tonight and our honoree of the Liberty Award, there's a group and a person I would like to point out. And it's painful and rare when we acknowledge people that are competing for our charitable dollars, but the ACLU of Illinois has been working closely with us both legislatively and in the courtrooms, and this goes back so far, but especially when we began this sort of work towards civil unions. And I know Ed Young's here, I think I'm over here, and Colleen Connell from the Civil Union. I feel like I know myself like no others, but he was on the steering committee, and we had a lot of national groups, all the gay groups that you can think of that put money into the effort here. We raised quite a lot. Ed just found this way of shaking down like those national groups. Like, I don't know how it works, but we kept getting, there's another 100,000 from Freedom to Marry, and I knew it was always that. And just was an amazing leader for us. And then in the courts, it was the same. We're working along with Camilla and Chris, with John and I and Harvey, and we accomplished really just extraordinary things. So I'm so proud to have them here. And we offer them comps and they pay for their tickets. How awesome is that? And then probably the biggest decision we made as a coalition after June was to hire a campaign manager. And we took this tough as nails union organizer, John Colehep from AFSCME. He was on loan to us. And I would never want to be on the other side of the fight with John Colehep, and he's here as well tonight, and I just thank him for this. And our work, as you would expect, is always done by telling stories. It's the stories of these amazing, courageous plaintiffs, and they're willing to be really share their lives, sometimes very private, personal stories, and illustrate a problem and an injustice that has to be corrected. And in Illinois, remarkably, we had 3 marriage cases after all was said and done, which is a little unusual. And there's some plaintiffs here, but I wanted to introduce the plaintiffs who are here tonight. Our first original case was Darby v. Orr, and Jim Darby and Patrick Bova are here, sort of our lead plaintiffs. Anyone who's been in the community probably the last 40 to 50 years has partied with them, and they're just amazing and great, and they go to everything, and they're leaders in every way. Teresa and Mercedes, and I always say to put her name back, but they're both raised at and they sort of came out first. They had a baby during this process. They were at hearings, they testified, they did interviews, they allowed cameras to come in and follow them for weeks, and were just incredibly gracious. Then, after we won marriage, and we had a close friend of ours, Vernita Gray, who was very sick and just wanted to be married and be able to take care of her partner, Pat Edwards. Anyway, I love Vernita, and I miss her horribly. And that, and her and Pat were just incredibly courageous, and Pat is here as well. And not a surprise to any of us, once Vernita's case and Pat's marriage with Vernita came to light, that led to Leave the Or. And that was the case that first opened the door for all people that had a terminally ill or facing a terminal illness in their family. And then ultimately just moved up the date for everyone because we had a common sense judge. And it's also sort of painful because we also have to recognize the passing of two extraordinary people. So we recognize the passing of Ken Leo's husband, Ron Dorfman, who's just an extraordinary man, and Elvie Jordan's wife, Chalice Gibbs. And they have both since passed, but were able to marry the people that they loved the most, and they knew it. They knew they protected their spouse. And so that was so important. And then, of course, the lead plaintiffs in this case, which ultimately moved the date up for everyone. And they were the couple that wasn't sick, so they held that door open, had their foot in it, so anyone else could get through. And that was Brenda Lee and Lee Edwards, and I just thank them so much. There's also a young man here, Stephen White, who's part of our, we just call it the cab case, that they did the sex, or that would be a kiss in the back of a cab, and we're threatened, but I like calling it the sex. And that case is still pending. So I thank all of you. It was an extraordinary year. And with that, I want to introduce a person who really needs no introduction, and in fact, it's because she waived her introduction because she wanted an extra minute, 30 seconds to speak.